What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Bitcoin Build a Mind podcast. I'm excited. I'm always excited. I'm always excited when I get the opportunity to speak with Bitcoiners and builders and people who are doing cool things in the space. So today we've got G from, well, he used to work with Pleb Labs, but now he's actually the CEO of Alamo Labs and the Alamo Bitcoin Meetup. He's a meetup organizer and he's working to basically build in the space in Bitcoin, in Texas, in the Alamo area, the Mecca down there, and really connecting developers and builders and all kinds of other people. It's like I said, it's really cool for me to get the opportunity to talk to people like this because you always get a different perspective and a different way to view life and, freedom and all these other things. And I think that's just like one of the core tenets, the core principles in Bitcoin. And so when you get to talk to people like this, it's just, it opens up the mind in a lot of different ways. So I hope that you guys are just as excited as I am. Before we get into that, I want to tell you guys about the Mastermind Club. Our Mastermind Club is the place to go for people who are looking to get into Bitcoin mining, but haven't figured out where they should start. You're going to get with the Mastermind, you're going to get access to roadmaps, project guidelines. You're going to get access to deep dive technical topics like contract negotiation, the difference between air, immersion, and hydro. We're gonna talk about all kinds of different things. The deep dive really goes deep into different aspects of Bitcoin mining, and you get technical topics, technical analysis, and we bring in guest speakers from all over the space to talk about that. Not only do you get that, you also get access to minimum order quantities, again, project roadmaps. You get time with Scott, myself, and the rest of the team. And we basically just help hold your hand and walk you through the Bitcoin mining journey. So definitely hit up the website in the show description for that. And let's get into the episode. I'm going to bring G up. G, welcome to the Build a Mind podcast. I appreciate you being here today.
Yeah, man, I appreciate the invite. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So real quick, just let's kind of hear your story, let the plebs know who you are and why you're in Bitcoin.
Oh man, it's my favorite question to answer and to ask. Everyone comes through different backgrounds. When we run our meetups, that's the first question I like to ask all the entrepreneurs and builders we're bringing in. So for me, it started back in 2018. I had a factory job, hated life. It was horrible. 12-hour days, 6 to 6, uh, making $13 an hour. I remember back then in my 20s, I was like everyone else, living in fiat land, sports, going out all the time, nice cars, being in debt.
Living that high time preference, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah. So, anyways, I ended up meeting a mentor who taught me about Austrian economics. He would always tell me, I want to teach you something school doesn't teach you, and that's about money. So I went down that rabbit hole, learned about all the different asset classes as well: stocks, gold, silver, real estate, uh, Bitcoin a little bit. He would always tell me, look into Bitcoin, look into Bitcoin. And I remember when I got enough capital eventually, I was like, all right, I want to deploy some and see what's up. So looking at everything, gold and silver holds value, kind of a dead fish in the water. Real estate, you need a lot of capital to enter that. Dividends, stocks, you need a lot of capital to get returns on that. So that's definitely a long-term play. And I remember thinking like, oh, what's this Bitcoin thing? I know a little bit of the language. I'll look at it. As soon as I saw 21 million, capped, limited, made perfect sense to me. It lined up with the Austrian economics. So yeah, I went down that rabbit hole, man. And I remember going to Miami 2020, I think, or 2021, right after COVID. Yeah, I wanted to go and get orange pilled by, people that have been in the space longer, greater minds. So I went there, was able to connect a lot. I remember telling my mentor it went really well. He was excited, saying I was the only guy that ever listened to him. Everyone just kind of blew him off.
Who was your mentor, just real quick?
He's my my boss, Chris. Now he's retired. He's doing his own
Okay.
CFO thing on the side. But the way I look at it with him, he's like my finance 1.0 like mentor, and now I'm his equal, but I'm in Bitcoin over here, where I can explain, any of this quote unquote crypto stuff to him. So
Get
able
into
to
technical.
just yeah, able to just share pure signal, man. That's what it's all about. And then yeah, so came back. I found the Austin Bitcoin Club because I was living out in Austin at the time. So I got really involved with what they were doing, Kyle, Carr, Keon. And then that's when Pleb Lab had just started. So I thought everything was really cool that they were doing. Wasn't technical, but I was willing to help. Any way I can contribute, I was already 100% in. And yeah, after a couple years being with them, I wanted to meet Bitcoiners from my city that I can connect with. Being from San Antonio, only an hour away, so yeah, we started the club here in San Antonio. Have been able to bring in, a plethora of different speakers, ranging from, Zaprite to venture capitalists from Eagle Death, Andy Pitt, Joe Kelly, founder of Unchained. So it's been a real blessing being real close to them. And yeah, after about 2 years now of running the club, we want to make the next step, and that's why we're creating Alamo Labs to be able to foster developers and creators here in Central Texas. A lot of the guys in Austin, my friends, first and foremost, the devs, I respect them. So now it feels good to tell them, hey, if you ever come down, I have a place for you to work, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And hopefully they can expose the city to some cool stuff and we can get builders. San Antonio's a cybersecurity city. We're a cybersecurity hub of America. But what scratches my mind is like, you're a cybersecurity hub, but you're not working with the most cybersecure protocol ever invented. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So no one's producing that type of education, and that's all we're here for, man. We'll give you the good, the bad, the ugly, and yeah, just trying to raise everyone up.
It's interesting to me how you see that, like you see these areas in all over the world, really, where they're diving deep into certain technologies, certain security protocols, and all this stuff, and yet like Bitcoin is kind of thrown to the background or just completely ignored. So, I believe that in order to push this Bitcoin revolution forward, we all need to stand up. We all need to shout at the rooftops and get that signal out there. And I think that's really what you're doing, is just doing your part in your town, in your city, in your area to grow that adoption and move that needle forward. What is it like, being a meetup organizer in Texas? Texas is like one of the biggest places when it comes to Bitcoin. I know after the China ban, like a lot of miners moved to Texas, a lot of development moved to Texas. Do you see that kind of like, just when you're out on the street, do you see that Bitcoin signal out there? What's that like?
Uh, well, it's different down here in San Antonio. No, not really too much signal. That's why we started all this. But if we're gonna talk about the Mecca, Austin, yeah, it's the community out there is everywhere. You can be walking down the street, you'll see Ben Carmen walking down, or a Svetsky. Yeah, who knows who walks around over there. It's wild. That's why we're so blessed, just to be so close to them and have that relationship with those guys out there. Um, and yeah, out here, what's it like? I mean, yeah, we are I guess, Bitcoin state, Bitcoin capital, Bitcoin nation. So signal's real high down here in Central Texas. I don't think you can find another community anywhere in America like this. So everyone's
Yeah,
real passionate. Oh, what were we saying? I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, like anytime I talk to Bitcoiners, it's always Texas this, Texas that, and so I hear that Austin's a great place to go if you're a Bitcoiner, so it just I don't know. I think Texas is really, they've always been a showstopper or a first mover when it comes to certain things. And I feel like Bitcoin is just one of those things where everybody's going to get on board following Texas because they're making large moves. Um, I was gonna ask you, as a meetup organizer, someone who's trying to, or not trying, you're successfully bringing in developers, bringing in speakers from all different areas of the Bitcoin space. What are you hearing? Like, is it easier for you guys to quote unquote orange pill people in the community, or how's that process going for you guys?
Yeah, so the whole point that we try and get across with Bitcoin is how we spoke about earlier. Everyone has a different story, different background, different upbringing. What resonates with me might be different than what you resonate with. Like for me, it was philosophy, going down that deep rabbit hole and connecting Bitcoin, seeing how it touches everything. That was my thing. Now, the whole thing with us being able to bring in different speakers doing different things is we want to find something that resonates with different people that show up. So, there's been a time we brought crowd health in, and I remember John Gordon just blew everyone out the water. A lot of them were saying, "We've never heard of crowd health. Like, how have I never known about this product?" We've brought in Pleb Dev, Mr. Austin out of Pleb Lab. So his whole mission is to turn plebs into developers. So he does intro level courses and everything. So we brought him in just to show, where he was a year or two ago, and his whole message was like, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Um, so yeah, just different people trying to resonate with the different parts of the city here, and we don't ever. Like, I've had people come up to me after the meetups, and they're like, your meetup was so different. I like how you're not pressuring us, to buy or sell or anything, because we don't ever talk about the price down here. And that's what I tell. I've told some of the members that show up. We're here to gain the trust of the city. There's been so many scams and all this stuff happening in Bitcoin and crypto that crypto gives it a bad name. So our whole thing is just to educate on what it is, good, bad, and the ugly, and make their own decision. They want to come back and ask us where to get Bitcoin, how to store it, where that where that physical source down here in San Antonio, where we will help them, secure their Bitcoin and take, the various steps to ensure that nothing happens to it. Another thing down here too is I think Bitcoin and Texas. The reason why you're seeing Texas emerge as Bitcoin economy is the core principles line up with what we believe down here in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of first principles is what Surfer Jim calls them. So yeah, it's kind of almost effortless because the principles line up so well. And then also, what's it like being a meetup organizer down here? Luckily for me, and also Jason, he runs the Round Rock meetups. He's an hour north of Austin, and we're an hour south of Austin. So what's been real helpful, and we're very blessed to be around, is that being with the Austin crew, seeing how a lot of hardcore Bitcoiners, move and how they talk and everything. They basically have set the Bitcoin standard for meetups here in Texas. So, like I said, we're so close to it. We just pull from that, and those guys are willing to help us in any way. So yeah, man, it's yeah, just coming down here. It's funny, just coming here. No Bitcoin community or anything. I'm in with the tech crew down here, and these Bitcoin ideas are just so new and different. Um, so I've been real happy that the city's been behind us, and yeah, just trying to show others the light, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate people like yourself who are really spreading the signal and not the noise. I like what you said there. You're not telling people how to trade it. You're not telling people how to buy it or sell it until they come to you. You know, it's when they come to you, when they're starting to be curious about it, that you start, you know, telling them how Bitcoin works. And I think through the education of like why Bitcoin is important, that's what the touch points are that make people like, oh, like this is this thing that I can use, and it touches all these other parts of life and all that. I was I was speaking with a guy yesterday that I was working for in my fiat job, and we were talking about my Bitcoin miners because I just got a Bitcoin miner plugged in, and it's producing heat and all this stuff. And he was like curious about it, and he didn't really care about Bitcoin too much. But once I started telling him like how Bitcoin miners create heat and how that heat is like 100 times more efficient than regular HVAC, things like that. He kind of pulled it together himself with a story because he used to I think he was the general manager of a large farming operation in Southern Oregon or something like that. I couldn't remember the exact details, but he was telling me how in a lot of these large greenhouses, they have to use these radiating heat fans or vent things on the sides of the greenhouses in order to keep the heat and the temperature and the humidity in there at a certain temp. And he was telling me that they would spend thousands of dollars a month just to pay for that heat. And he had connected it himself. He's like, so you're telling me that heat could be completely free? And I was like, yeah, like that's exactly what that can do. And so like to tie it back to what we were talking about is I don't think that you necessarily orange pill people. I think what you do is you give them touch points, and after enough touch points like have hit them, they're just like, boom, orange light. What is Bitcoin? How do I get some? How do I secure it? Like, what's the process, you know? And that's where people like yourself come in, because you're there to kind of give them that roadmap, that project runway, and say, okay, like, look, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You're going to learn a little bit every single time, and you're going to stack those blocks on top of each other. And eventually you're going to look 2 years from now, you're going to be like, oh shit, I know so much more about Bitcoin, but not just Bitcoin, because like you said, Bitcoin touches everything. So I didn't understand, and I still don't. I'm not like going to sit here and say, oh, I know everything, but it's like, I didn't understand electricity. I didn't understand thermodynamics, or the way that fluids move, thermodynamics, I guess, fluid. I'm not exactly sure, but I didn't understand all of this stuff. I didn't understand finances. I didn't understand money. I didn't understand wealth creation or energy preservation. But once you get into Bitcoin, you start learning a little bit about everything. And that's kind of what I love about it. That's my favorite thing about Bitcoin, is that it doesn't matter where you come from. You know, you could be a top executive in some sort of legal battle, or like lawyer, consultant, whatever, or you could be just a pleb working in construction. It doesn't matter. There's a way and there's a touch point for you to get into Bitcoin. So, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, no, I like how you said that. I kind of had that oh wow moment. Last year, actually, I was hanging out with an accountant in Bitcoin. Actually, his name is Satoshi Pacquioli, Joe. And I was hanging out with Julie. She runs one of the meetups out there in the Bay Area, and she's an attorney. And we're just sitting there hanging out. And I just remember being like, what am I doing here? Like, what do you mean? I said, I'm just a bartender, just blue collar worker. And I'm like, I'm able to hang out and keep up with both of y'all. And like, this, I shouldn't be here. And they're like, well, you're here. Like, it's okay. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. It just kind of hit me weird right there. It was like an oh wow moment. So that's funny you said that.
I've definitely had that feeling. So like just a little personal touch point on me is like I got into Bitcoin mining 4 months ago. And at the same time that I got into Bitcoin mining, I found Scott Offord and Scott's crypto mining. And it was funny because like I was messaging in the Telegram chats, I was being really active, and Scott reached out to me. He was like, brother, like I need someone on my team that has the energy that you have. And so I was like, job in Bitcoin, let's go. So I jumped head first. And then like he brought me to Milwaukee for the Bitcoin, for the Build a Mind boot camp. And I got to that was the first time I ever got to sit in a room with other Bitcoiners. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to these guys talk. I'm listening to millionaires who have made their money in Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining talk about the different aspects of life, philosophy, Bitcoin, the way that it touches all these things. And I'm just like, I don't I don't feel like I don't feel like I fit in,
Yeah.
but they made me feel like that was okay. Like it's okay to not fit in because none of us fit. We're all like different puzzle pieces that kind of just like shove themselves together and reassemble themselves into something beautiful and something new. So I like what you said there. That was, just whatever. But as a meetup organizer, I would like to know like what is your advice to somebody who, like myself. I'm in a small town. I live in a small town of about 10,000 people. It's a retirement community and it's virtually untapped by Bitcoin. What is your advice to someone like me in finding the ways, the touch points to people, how to build that community around Bitcoin, how to grow that community? Because I believe, and I'm sure that you do too, that Bitcoin is the way of the future, and Bitcoin adoption by everyone is what's going to make this world flourish. So I just want to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I think number one is for sure be the example yourself, because we live in this age where a lot of people are need to see it to believe it. Uh, so I know, when I first discovered Bitcoin and fell all the way in, I remember my family was thinking I was crazy. Cousins, everyone be like messing with me a little bit, and I remember when it blew up to 69,000 that last cycle. Everyone was asking me questions. Everyone was flipping out. You're gonna sell it. You should sell it. Yada yada yada. And now I just stuck to everything I've absorbed in the space, and it was like, how much is 69,000 really gonna change my life? It's not. Why am I gonna sell right now? That's 1 year salary. And once I would say that to some people, they'd be like, "You make a good point." I say, "Yeah, man. Like, I'd rather." Hold for the future. I would at one point. I remember I was against using or selling Bitcoin, and then yeah, the opportunity came to build infrastructure in my own city. So I'd rather spend coin on something that's gonna do that and kind of give back to Bitcoin what it's given to me, which is freedom, peace of mind. Um, and another thing, as far as aside from being the example, like when you're setting up a club, being a local, you know what the locals like. Like down here, for instance, when we built our logos, we use the retro Spurs colors because we're big time Spurs fans down here. So there's been a couple of times I'll see some people and they'll see some of our shirts, and it's like, oh man, that's the Spurs, like old school colors. Like, is that y'all's logos? So, yeah. Um, so just that incorporating, whatever culture that your city or town has. Austin, they've always been real big on music and punk. So if you look at any of their stuff out there, um, that's how they remain real pleb, real punk pleb aesthetic. Down here with us, it's more of a Hispanic culture down here. So uh, if you know, you know. One of our mascots is Bob off the movie La Bamba. Yeah, it's a, I mean, it's a cultural movie down here, but yeah, we do a lot of stuff with that just to speak to people and make it, look cool, bring
Yeah.
them in.
Yeah.
Because I've heard online, Bitcoin isn't sexy. That's what some people say. So it's up to these community organizers just to use it any way they see fit to be able to attract their community. And all the communities, just like everyone else, we're all different. So down here, Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, all different identities. Um, and you're seeing the way everyone's building, how diverse it is, and even like the Atlanta bit devs, Nashville. they're all doing their own thing in a certain way. The principles line up, but the way they're presenting it is just, um, how do I say, it's ideal for their surroundings. And then lastly, I would say just don't be afraid. I remember I was like, nah, I'm not going to be the guy to do the meetups. That's not me. I'm just a pleb. I just want to show up and hang out, drink some beer. And yeah, man, eventually, if it comes to you, something comes to you, anything in Bitcoin, and it really calls to you, it speaks to you, pulls at your heart. For instance, you with the mining, I tell anybody, don't be afraid. Just dive in. It's such a new frontier. There's so much opportunity there that has yet to be captured. So yeah, just to let go of the fiat life and have a lot of faith, man. Faith will take you a long way.
Yeah, I like that actually. Faith is something that's really important in life. And I'm not talking about faith in God necessarily. Like, we don't need to talk about that, but really faith in yourself. In knowing that when you have faith in yourself and you have faith in trust in life, you're going to get pushed in certain directions. And when you know that when it feels right, like that's the direction that you're supposed to go. Like, listen to your gut, have faith that is the thing. It's going to take time. It takes time to build things. And so at certain points it may feel like it's not working, or something's not happening the way that you want it to, but you just got to keep going. You got to keep taking those steps.
Oh man, I can go deep down that rabbit hole, but thing about faith is how I said earlier, we live in a society, I need to see it to believe it. Well, faith is believing without seeing.
Yeah.
Um, and I've gone down that whole rabbit hole. My whole thing was growing growing up, I didn't really have a purpose. And finding Bitcoin and the club finding me, it gave me purpose. And when your purpose is bigger than you, it's hard to fail.
Oh,
Also, so that's why I remain just for the city. I gave up on getting rich a long time ago. I The most touching thing I've done with Bitcoin, um, my stepdad, I got him into it. He wasn't a believer. Eventually, my parents ended up redoing their house with Bitcoin. That was when lumber was going crazy and everything. And I remember still being here at a party, and my cousins, everyone comes over, sees the new house. They're like, "How'd you do it? You did it so fast." And he was like, "Oh, well, you want to know? Ask G." And I'm just sitting there, and I kind of look at him, and I was like, "Well, I didn't do anything. Like, I educated you. You hit the buy button, you hit the sell button, you pulled the money, you made the plans, you contacted the guy, you gave him the money." I was like, it was all you. It wasn't me. And just from that aspect of you receive more from giving. After that, it was like, okay, well, let's see what we can do here with the city. So getting into mining a little bit, what's really cool that's forming down here was when I was getting our office space in April. Got to meet a representative from our energy company down here called City Public Service. So they pretty much run all the San Antonio energy grid, basically here in Bexar County. And we started talking. I asked him what he did. He asked me what I did, and then he brought up how they were looking for solutions for rolling blackouts and brownouts down here. As he said that, I was like, "Oh, really? Well, have you heard anything about Bitcoin mining?" He's like, "Nah, I don't know too much about it." And basically explained to him how. Well, I walked him through what they go through, and I'm like, "Okay, well, I know when the demand's high and y'all supplies low, you have to outsource energy from third-party companies, and third-party companies are owned by Berkshire Hathaway and pretty much the elites." So I was just telling them, I know you got to pay 3 to 4 times the amount of electricity when you do that. So just because the demand is so high,
yeah.
everyone's calling you from blacked out parts of the city, emailing you, "Why is my electricity out? When's it going up?" And down here it can be, yeah, it's been crazy high lately, triple digits for like the last 2 weeks. But I just explained to him a little bit about that, and I was like, well, if you were to set up some Bitcoin miners, the beauty is the supply and the demand is high with them. But whenever you need any energy, y'all wouldn't have to outsource it. You could just go to these guys and just, tell them, hey, we need y'all to shut down for about like an hour or two, just so we can reroute that energy to the city. So he was really intrigued by it. They're always looking for new ideas. So yeah, the next thing right now is I I talked to Pierre Richard the other night, and he used to live here in San Antonio in his younger days. So I asked him if he would be willing to come down and talk to their board about Bitcoin mining, and who knows, just see what we can do down here, man.
Hell yeah.
I think it'd be a big win. It'd be a big win for the club. People always tell me like, "Oh, when are you gonna get paid?" Yada yada yada. The whole point is like we have to prove our legitimacy, and we have to put in that proof of work. And so I think that would be a real big. How do I say this? Just a real big like accelerator for us to not only help the city, but two, to be able to be this source where we can, say we were the ones who established that or planted that into the minds of our energy company down here. So very excited to do something with that.
Yeah, that's big. That's huge actually. I think that Bitcoin mining like Bitcoin is going to change the world for sure. Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. But Bitcoin mining to me is that physical thing that, you just talked about how like seeing is believing for a lot of people. Well, that's a physical thing that you can see. You might not be able to put your hand and touch Bitcoin, but you can touch a Bitcoin miner and you can feel the heat coming off of that thing. And then when you think to yourself, like I did, well, like, how many people in the world need heat on a daily basis? I mean, billions of people need heat. Now, when you can generate that heat for free, or even better, you can use it in your business, your existing business that needs heat, and get Bitcoin on the side, which now you're able to appreciate you're able to see the appreciation of Bitcoin through time, and your business gets stronger. Like the implications for that are huge when you think about how it seems like today in our environment, in our society, people are incentivized not to work. People are incentivized to not grow a business, not build for themselves. But when you can incentivize people to build a business, show them that that business is not only going to be profitable, but just like absolutely blow other businesses that are similar out of the water, like that gives people hope. It gives people something to live for. And I think that right there is going to be the catalyst for changing our world and how people react and respond to situations in their life. I love what you said there about how Bitcoin is, well, you didn't really say it, but I love the idea that Bitcoin mining and Bitcoin itself is changing the view, changing people's ideas, and it's sparking thought. You have this guy who needs the help to like he's terrified because he's got all this demand that he needs to fill, but he can't fill because he doesn't have the substations or the energy grid to do it. And then you're like, yo, I've got something that can come in and pay for all of that power, pay for all that electricity that you can't sell. What does that mean? That means you get to bolster your grid, because the more you bolster your grid, I can just throw miners at you and keep buying that energy. And then when you need it the most, I'll just unplug. I'll unplug. I'll send the power right back to you. People are going to thrive. You turn the AC on. It'll be great. And that right there is going to be the thing that gets people on board. So I really hope that PR Richard can orange pill that guy with you.
I think he can, man. Dude's good at what he does. Been very successful for a long time now. So yeah, that's exciting. And also another one down here that gets to me with mining is the flare gas mining.
Yeah.
So down here in Texas, big time oil state. and I've talked to a couple people about it. I have another buddy, another one of the members for the meetup. He's actually a really, well, I wouldn't say big, but he works for a big time oil company. So he's always bringing it up. Like he's hardcore about the macro, micro. He's good. Knows a lot about green energy. He says he had studied that in college, so he's able to like dismantle a lot of that FUD. But talking with a lot of people with flare gas mining, what I think is interesting is the oil life, oil field workers. It's really a boom bust kind of thing. 1 year it's great, spend a lot of money, they're doing a lot of things. Next year they get laid off. Um, so what I've kind of like pieced together myself as far as a way to just orange pill on the flare gas mining is, during your boom cycle and you're making a lot of money, you're doing this. If you're setting up flare gas miners and you're utilizing that methane gas, right? It's methane, yeah. If you're utilizing that, because we're just either burning it or throwing it back in the ground, there's no way to get rid of it. Now, if you utilize it and create Bitcoin, what these potential oil companies could do is they could set one of these up, boom, multiple locations, mine Bitcoin. Who knows if they hit? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But if they do, and the coin appreciates, and the oil season goes into a bust, like a remission, slows down. Well, instead of laying people off, you could literally sell that Bitcoin, pay your employees, and now you got rid of boom bust cycles. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it will essentially eliminate like that problem with the oil field. And they're already making, millions of dollars already. So it's like, why not pay your employees, a couple 100,000 to keep them around and
Yeah,
just
make their lives
stay
better.
loyal. Yeah, yeah.
I
So everybody wins.
Everybody wins. Everybody on Bitcoin wins, especially when the fundamentals are there. I don't know about the shitcoin guys because they're bringing some weird theories and weird ideas to Bitcoin that I don't think should be on Bitcoin, but we don't have to get into the Bitcoin maximalist version of shit, but it's no, it's amazing. It's really awesome what's happening down there, and I think Texas again it's the hub. It's you have more flared gas or flared gas situations there. You have more oil in Texas than in anywhere else in the country, I'm pretty sure, and Bitcoin miners can play a huge role in not only bolstering grids but subsuming electricity, cleaning up the atmosphere because hey, we're not flaring unburned gas. You're actually utilizing it and you're also creating wealth for not only the people who are working in Bitcoin, but also the people who are working to build these energy grids. So I think that's amazing. Real quick, we're going to do an advertisement and then we'll get back into it. Okay.
Got it.
All right, everybody. So I want to tell you about the mining conference, which is in Baxter, Minnesota in September 27th through the 29th. This is the best place to go to talk with industry leaders, to talk with builders in the space, to talk to people who are actively working in the mining sector. There are opportunities to talk with all these people and really get a good feel out on what's going to happen in Bitcoin over the coming decade. We all know that Bitcoin is changing the landscape of the world, but I think that Bitcoin mining is what's changing it even more. And Bitcoin mining is going to be the thing that sets businesses apart. So the mining conference in Baxter, Minnesota, which was put on by Scott's Crypto Mining, is going to help shape the future of Bitcoin mining, finance, energy, and all these other things. We're bringing together all these people to talk in one space, one place, so that everybody gets the opportunity to network, grow, and communicate with people like that. Look, when you come to our conference, you're not only going to get these opportunities to speak with these people, but also you're going to get an opportunity to purchase tickets to our one-day Build a Mine boot camp. It's an intensive course where we guide you through the steps on how to go from 0 to 100 on your Bitcoin mine. If you've never been in Bitcoin mining and you want to learn how to run a Bitcoin mine, I implore you guys to join our Build a Mind Bootcamp at the conference. Now, if you don't want to join the Build a Mind Bootcamp, that's fine, because guess what? There's plenty of places, plenty of opportunities to learn about Bitcoin, and you can spend some time doing some of the fun things that Baxter, Minnesota has planned for you. So check it out. Mark your guys' calendar for fall, September 27th through the 29th. Come see us. Let's build a mind together, teach you how to do it at the mining conference. All right, we're back. So let's see. I have some more questions for you, and I think that we can kind of make this flow a little bit. So when you bring in speakers and builders and developers to your Bitcoin meetups, are you talking with anybody who's doing crazy things with heat reuse or other building systems that allow Bitcoin miners to flourish?
So far here, we've had one mining talk with our mining source, and it was pretty much like a low-level talk, just talking about hashing and miner efficiency, just to get it in the minds of people that you can overlook the FUD. We have a guy here. If you want to go shake his hand and you want to talk Bitcoin mining, he'll give you everything you need to know. They can even supply you with miners, get you a hosting facility, or they strongly encourage home mining. So that's where we've been at as far as the mining talks down here right now. Again, our source, great. So he's out there always talking about it. Always, he works for a mining company actually, Snicket Mining, and they're Texas based. So that's another good thing too about them is, yeah, if you ever want to go up to Dallas and check out their headquarters, you can go see your miner at work. So that's been it. And then a really cool thing that they did for us was they gave us it's like split shares. So it's almost like cloud mining, but you're buying pieces of a miner. And their whole thing was when they donated us those shares, they were like, I don't know, at the time, like $60 a piece. I don't remember how many we got, but everybody got one. And it was pretty much just to show like how it feels to be able to look at, how's your miner doing, the efficiency, the rewards that you're getting back, and to be able to experience that feeling of when a miner, does hit on some Bitcoin, you're making money just by just sitting there, and it appreciates over time. So that's really cool. And best of all, it's non-KYC Bitcoin. So
Yeah.
anytime you want to pull it, yeah.
I actually had a conversation with a buddy of mine. He came over to help me with my car last night, and we were talking about what he's doing. And he's like, "Oh yeah, like I'm not gonna dox him too much, but he's like, oh yeah, I just bought a bunch of rental properties and all this stuff." And I was like, I've been trying to get him to buy Bitcoin for a while. I was like, why didn't you just buy Bitcoin? And he's like, well, I don't understand it. I don't really know it. And so I was like, all right, well, look, dude, you've got plenty of power out at your house. Why don't you buy a Bitcoin miner? Like the best way to learn about Bitcoin, in my opinion, is to dip your toes in the water and like actually experience it, like you're talking about. Experience either hitting a block or connecting to a mining pool and bringing in actual Bitcoin. So he's like, oh, I don't know, maybe I'll do it. And then he left, right? And he messages me last night. He's like, all right, so what miner do I need? What do I need to get this thing hooked up? So we went through like all the things that he needs, and he's gonna buy a Bitcoin miner, and I think he's getting the Nest 19 for like $600 off of Amazon. So it's just a used one that it may or may not hash for a year and a half, but at the end of the day, he's gonna get that experience. He's gonna get to play with it, and by having something like being invested in it, that's kind of what brings you along the journey, makes you take those steps, because you're like, all right, well, now I got this miner. How do I collect my Bitcoin? Where does my Bitcoin go? How do I store that Bitcoin? Then if I want to spend that Bitcoin, how do I use it? So it's just little touch points along the road, and it doesn't matter, again, where you come from. You just got to dip your toes in the water and get into it.
Yeah, man. And as we go, Bitcoin's been around for what, like 15 years now?
Yep.
There's more information out there on Bitcoin mining. There's more information on what Bitcoin is. We fear what we don't know, right? So the whole thing about Bitcoin mining is now, I mean, you have the BitAxe. So
yeah, we just talked to Scott on the podcast.
Oh man, so sick. I definitely plan on getting one of those here soon, throwing it in the office just to have. It looks cool,
It's
but then you're also
nostalgic,
securing the
man.
network. It's
Like
sick.
in 20 years, I mean, when a bid axe doesn't really do that much for you. I mean, it doesn't do very much now, but it's going to be one of those things that it's like, man, I got a bid axe. I've had this thing forever. It's been hashing for the longest time. And what I think is so cool about things like the bid axe is like I see videos on Twitter of like people have them plugged into their trucks, driving down the road. They're plugging them in at the airport, like they're doing all kinds of things. They're mining in the randomest places. So it's like there's something for everyone. There's a touch point for everyone to get into the space. You just gotta, like you said, in the mining aspect, like you just gotta do it. Like
Mhm.
just start. And however you start, however rocky it is, like it doesn't matter. What matters is that every single time you learn, you get better, and you apply the new knowledge that you have to the next step.
Yeah, and well, the cool thing too now, what's happening with hash power, because there's some miners that don't produce enough hash right now, right? People don't know what to do with the hardware, software. Um, so I have a buddy, Uncle Jim. He actually just created this product called Cascader out of Pleb Lab. So his whole thing is if you have like GPU miners, anything that can deliver hash, even at low levels, what you can do is you can get on board with what he's built and contribute hash to his model, and essentially it powers. It's like a Chat GPT, but built on Bitcoin with a Bitcoin ethos behind it, and you can get paid out for contributing hash to this product to produce answers and give results for users, power users, and essentially you get paid for your hash for it not serving a purpose for you over the last year or two. Now you can profit off of that. So I like how the utilization of any type of hash, small or large, is moving forward. And then I know another really cool thing is we plan on getting some miners here in the workspace here soon. My buddy Will's taking care of it. He wants to donate a couple, so yeah, I'll probably have some black boxes there in the workspace, and yeah, who knows if we hit a block, that would be cool. It's still definitely possible. I know it was a couple weeks ago there was a solo miner that hit a block, and that's always like finding a needle in a haystack. It's wild.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and then with that node actually, or with that miner actually, it's I can't think of the name of what miner it was, but it comes with the node. So along with that, we plan on setting up a node here for the club, for the city, to where anybody can have access to it and use it if they need. So
Yeah, dude, you guys are pushing that orange light forward with all the stuff you're working on, man. It's incredible to see, honestly. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I love talking with Bitcoiners like yourself because you're really like you said it yourself. You're not doing this for you anymore. Like you're doing this for the community. You're doing it to build the Bitcoin ethos, and I think you're doing it the right way, really.
man, changed my life. I'm just out just to help others. That's another thing I talk about is if you can capture the hearts of your community, um, then that's something you can't put a price on. They're gonna know
Yeah.
you're not a BS type of guy. You're just here to provide signal, and that's
Yeah.
what we really rely on as far as giving information. So
Yeah.
just been a
I
blessing.
I think it's very important for people like yourself to stand up and wave that orange flag and shout from the rooftops the signal because our our communities really need this. I look at my community, my small town, and through COVID, like so many businesses failed. So many businesses like went out, and I'm talking businesses that were here forever. And it's like if they had Bitcoin, and maybe it's not like actually holding the coin, but like the fundamentals of Bitcoin, they change you. You would have told you would have told the regulatory departments to go shove it because You don't need that. You don't need them breathing down your neck telling you what to do. But what I'm getting at is like, your community builds you and you build the community. And so by going out there and, speaking on what you know, building up the Alamo area, building up the mecca of Bitcoin, really, you're pushing that needle, you're making that happen. And how many people's lives are you going to change 15, 20 years from now? Because it's a cascading effect. You change one person's life and they're able to build a business, and then they're able to pass that business on to their children, and their children are able to flourish. Like you just changed like the lives of like 5 people, you know?
Yeah, that's definitely some powerful stuff. I know my whole reason for this is another favorite question I like to ask a lot of people is like, what's your purpose?
That's a good one.
Yeah, again, going down that philosophy rabbit hole, my whole thing is I want to make people around me great. And I see Bitcoin as a tool to be able to do that because it is able to, how do I say, the tool. Okay. Yeah, I lost you for a second.
You're back. It's all
Yeah.
good.
All right. No, well, it's able to eliminate a lot of the distractions in our life. One of the biggest ones, obviously, being debt. You have people, working a 9 to 5 to pay off college debt or car debt, their mortgage, different things. I forgot what book it was I was reading, but they talk about how that shouldn't be how life is. If you look back in the day, our forefathers, even cavemen, never woke up and they were saying, "Oh, I got to get to my job at 9 o'clock, or my boss is going to fire me or write me up." So the whole thing with all this is, how can I make someone great with Bitcoin being the tool to it? Let's say I find someone who's really good at art, right? Bitcoin needs uh, so many artists in it right now, just to make it look cool, um, make it physically appealing, visually appealing.
Yeah.
So my whole thing is like, okay, well, if you can onboard someone that's really good at something and they're still working a fiat job, but they have this passion burning inside of them, well, eventually they'll be able to step away from their job as much, not have to put so much of their time and energy into it because now they have this cushion, which is Bitcoin, and it allows them just to go be great at whatever they want to do, whether it be art, whether it be writing, being a mechanic. I mean, whatever your passion is. And I believe if you're truly passionate and great at something, it's going to show through your work. And my hope is, however many people I can help with this in the future, somebody's going to look at them and be like, how'd you get to this point in your life? What made you so great? Well, now they can look back and be like, well, I'm great because like this guy helped me. This guy made me great. So now all through life, I was real prideful. Um, I think we all go through that, self-confidence, I guess you can call it.
Yeah.
Um, Let go of all that, man. And now it's like, I'd rather have other people call me great, because now that's being selfless. And I honestly feel like God, the source, the higher power, whatever you worship, I feel like God favors being selfless over selfish. And yeah, that's my whole goal with Bitcoin, is just to free minds. I have a buddy down here. I tell him that stuff, and he's like, "Man, you sound like Morpheus." I'm just like, I'm like, yeah, man. That's all I want to do is just show you the door you have to walk through. So, but yeah,
Dude,
that's my whole goal.
that's funny. We ask everyone on this podcast a question, and you basically just answered my question without me having to ask it. So I'm just gonna ask it and see if you want to add anything to it. But I think honestly, with what you just said, the philosophical lens, like you just hit it nail on the nail. But I gotta ask. So what does Bitcoin mean to you?
What does Bitcoin mean to me? Oh man, that's a great question. I mean, for me, Bitcoin is definitely freedom. Um, yeah, freedom's one of the great words I can use for it. I remember telling my parents about it a while back, and I would tell them and my sister, at this point in my life right now, I'm like, I'm truly happy with how everything went and where I'm at. If I had to go through life and do everything all over again, step by step, to arrive at this point in my life, I would.
Yeah.
And that's when I tell them, like, this feeling I have is indescribable. Like, I don't have to go to work whenever I don't want to. Um, Another thing too is like you hold your own property, 100% of it. And when I was explaining to my parents, I said, okay, well, let's say things go bad and we have to get up and leave. Well, the house that y'all live in is gonna keep you chained here for a little while. It's hard to move more than $10,000 from your bank account. Um, and then with them, I'm like, okay, well, that's not real freedom. You want to hear real freedom? I can grab all my coin and move to Mexico if I want, or go to Canada or anywhere in the world. And yeah, that feeling is something I want to help give back to other people. My favorite quote from Max Kaiser is, and I've been telling some coworkers about it too, is you got to get. I don't want to cuss, but you got to have fu money.
Yeah.
When you have fu money, it allows you to live your life, do things you want to do, hang out with your loved ones, do things that you're passionate about, discover yourself. We live in a world right now where there's so much trendy things and everyone's always talking about sports or their Kardashians. I like to point out to a lot of people how Sundays during football season, everyone's just glued to the TV. Like sports have basically became our new god,
Yeah.
and to be able to break away from that, people are always asking me, "Oh, you want to go watch sports?" I'll go watch them, here and there, but it's not like how I was when I was another just another sheep in the herd, man, just kind of mindlessly going. And it even bleeds into like music, entertainment. Bitcoin allows you to discover like what you actually like instead of having these, big time companies pushing certain things on you. Just because something's trendy, you're gonna like it. So I just, yeah, that freedom way of thinking, um, it's just something, yeah, I'm forever grateful for. And
I
if
love
I was gonna
uh,
just say, if I that it makes it worth spending coin and using coin to be able to build infrastructure in your city. If that's the mindset that I'm trying to help other people reach.
Yeah, I absolutely love I love asking that question because people give a range of answers, but it all ties back to one thing, and it's freedom. It's the freedom to go out and do what you want, and whether that's, the time preference changing in a person, but Bitcoin gives people the opportunity to sit down and think to themselves, what do I want to do with my life? What do I want to accomplish? What do I want to achieve? Who do I want to affect? And it's those questions that make you start asking, like, well, am I living my life the right way? Am I doing things that align with my vision of who I am? And I mean, that's how it changed for me. Is like, you talked earlier about how you really, like, before Bitcoin, you didn't really have like hope. You didn't have guiding principles or that light to show you the direction. And I felt the same way. Like, I'm 18, 19 years old, fresh out of high school, not knowing like what I want to do with my life. I mean, I'm working some menial job. I was painting cars, and like, yeah, it was cool, but do I want to sit here in this job for the next 40 years, maybe making 35 bucks an hour, dying of cancer because I'm breathing in all these toxic fumes all the time? Like, is that what I want with my life? And that made me depressed. It made me sad. It made me like really just hopeless. You know what I mean? And when I finally found Bitcoin, it was like I could sit down with myself and go, 20 years from now, this is what I want to be. And that's possible. it's possible. It's 100% possible for me to get to that place as long as I follow my guiding light and let that affect and, disperse out, So I love that answer, man. Like, you're doing incredible things in the Bitcoin space. And I think that people are going to resonate with what you say. So I appreciate you being here today, man. Like, this is awesome.
Just being real, man. That's all I can be. And that's all I've ran into here in the Bitcoin space. I used to kind of talk like this a little bit when I was in my fiat life before Bitcoin. And I would always have friends, family kind of be like, oh, like conspiracy theorists, and oh, thinking all like radical thinking, all this stuff, being called dumb or not smart for some things I believed in or would look into. And it was a 180, man. Once I found the Bitcoin community, you find others that, super successful people, super happy, do their own research, on multiple things so they can go in to almost any conversation with you. And yeah, that was it where I was like, I'd rather hang with these Bitcoiners and be around, successful, like-minded people than, my fiat friends who, shoot, for the last 10 years, man, still doing the same thing. And I even tell my stepdad about that, how it was really weird figuring that out myself. And I just remember he looks at me, he's like, dude, I work with guys that are like in their 60s and 50s, and they're still acting like they're in their 20s. He's like, don't
Yeah.
be surprised.
Yeah.
And as far as you're talking about, working a job you don't like, that's how I felt when I first found Bitcoin. I remember there were people at this factory that worked 20, 30, 40 years, monotonous, one type of job, 12-hour days. I just remember that wasn't the life for me. Deep inside, something in me was like, this isn't going to be it. Got to find a way. And yeah, I remember I started orange pilling them with the whole 401k talk. I
Yeah.
pulled all my 401k. Back then, I was just buying Bitcoin, and there were some people there that were like for 10 years, and I was able to jump them with Bitcoin and over their 401k in like 3 years. And I just remember people would be like looking at me crazy, like, what? Like, how do you have that? I'm like, well, just buy Bitcoin, like, make it easy for you. You
Yeah.
get to hold it. There's no penalties.
There's
Can
no
do whatever I want with
fees.
it.
There's no
Exactly.
management fees. There's no upkeep or maintenance. You're in control of your destiny, man. Like, that's it. That's it.
And
So
it's sad, like, that price appreciation is what captures a lot of normies' attention, but at the same time, it is what it is. And yeah, I just use that kind of as a door, as a entry point into like, oh, okay, well, it's much bigger than that. I don't even look at the price anymore compared to when I first got into it. Now it's more on that deeper level of yeah, just helping people.
absolutely. That's the goal here. That's the mission. And Bitcoin is doing it all over the world. You're doing it in your local community. You're doing it on this show. And we applaud you. We appreciate you, Gabe. It's incredible. So, as a thank you for coming on this show, I don't know if you're going to be able to come up to Baxter, Minnesota in September, but we're going to give you 2 free tickets to the Minnesota conference. We'd love to have you come. We'd love to have you interact with us and our fellow listeners and other miners in the space. It's going to be a great opportunity for people to network, grow their community, grow their knowledge. I think that people who want to get a job in the Bitcoin space, especially Bitcoin mining, this conference is the best place to be. So we hope that you can join us for that. And even if you can't, what we're asking is that you'll give these tickets away as like a door prize or something to maybe any of the guests who come to your meetups. Along those lines, just really help spread the message and get people up to the mining conference.
Yeah, man, that'd be sick. I've never been out that way, so
Yeah,
definitely give me a reason to go.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. It's kind of a weird location, but the reason we're doing it there is because there's actually a 25 megawatt mining facility in Baxter, or Yeah, we're doing it in Baxter, Minnesota. No, sorry. I apologize, guys. It's Brainerd, Minnesota. I've never been there either, but it's Brainerd, Minnesota. It's in the foothills, beautiful country out there, lots of trees, forest areas, lakes, lots of activities for families and stuff. So yeah, we really hope that you get to make it out there with us, and I'll make sure that after the show you get those tickets. So.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming on the show today. So before we close out, I'd like to give you an opportunity to just tell everyone where they can find you, how they can get in contact with you, how, if they're in the Texas area, where do they go to your meetups, to meet you in person, all that stuff.
So how to find us online, really easy. San Antonio Bitcoin Club. On our website, it's actually really cool. We videotape majority of our talks, write a review on them just in case anybody missed it. And then also I just want to kind of show Alamo Labs. AlamoLabs.space is our website. We're currently taking applications for any creatives or builders in the South Texas area, just to be able to collab, add value to the city, and just create a new job market down here in San Antonio. So look out for the rollout party. Look out for the clips of the rollout party. And yeah, we just want to open the corridors between Austin and San Antonio for development, and pretty much make it the South Texas Metroplex for Bitcoin developers.
So, hell yeah. Is there any social medias that people can find you on?
Yeah, on Twitter, also Noster, San Antonio Bitcoin Club. Twitter, as well as my NIM is money, the number 2 and the letter B. You'll find me right there. Money to be murdered by.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah. But yeah, and how to find us. If you're ever here in San Antonio, we're on Meetup app, Luma, Orange Pill app, and we host our meetups downtown here at the I would say the tech entrepreneur hub of San Antonio. It's called Geekdom, like Kingdom, but with geek in the front. And yeah, we host the meetups out there every fourth Thursday of the month. And if anybody wants to come by and work, doors always open to any Bitcoiner.
There's stuff for you guys to do down there. So we'll make sure that all of that it gets linked in the show notes for anybody that wants to show up there, wants to connect with you. And yeah, so this was the Build a Mind podcast, guys. I appreciate you being here, G. If anybody liked this, please like, follow, subscribe on our YouTube channel or our Spotify. Find us on Fountain, the Value for Value sharing app. I keep saying to everybody, if you boost us or if you like us on Fountain, I'll make sure you guys get some sats, because it's all about the sats over here. And with that, guys, this was the Build a Mind podcast. Take care.
Please note, the Build a Mind podcast provides information for general educational purposes only. This information should not be construed as legal, financial, or investment advice. We do not guarantee the accuracy or completeness of any information presented, and we encourage you to consult with a professional advisor, legal advisor, and/or financial advisor before making any financial decisions. The Build a Mind podcast and its affiliates are not responsible for any losses incurred as a result of using the information provided.